Hello everyone, Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous, and we're going to take a look at the hangar that's in this version of Star Citizen. Now this is Star Citizen... I totally forgot that even the Selfland hangar had this area. Star Citizen 1.3 has been out for quite a while now, and this is one of the updates that was supposed to happen, was supposed to be in the lighting in this hangar. We're not here for the hangar, we're here to talk about ships today. And it's a prelude to my next Ben's Day with Batgirl and Ben, where I'm going to ask him some questions about the Buccaneer and the Cutlass. Just taking a look around, seeing... I don't see that... Oh, that's the new subscriber flare. I have two of these. I'd like to give them away. One of them away. It's a skull of some sort. It's a Camposi Magnus, Lord of the Deep, an aquatic predator that hunted the ocean depths of Ellis 4. The Camposi Magnus could grow up to 12 meters in size and fed on both plants and animals. Pretty cool. I pretty much have two of every one of these, so if you're interested in these, just mark down in the post below. I do have one to give away from last time. And I will go back and look at the Ben's Day comments and give away one of my subscriber flares to somebody that posted it that they wanted it. So today we're going to talk about Cutlass, okay? So way back in the day, first off, I don't know where my Cutlass is. We're going to find it. But way back in the day, when the Cutlass was announced, it was announced to be kind of a cross between I guess you would say like a Hornet and a Freelancer. It was supposed to do it all, but it was supposed to be very cheaply made and very inexpensive and able to outmaneuver most other fighters. I mean, that was the premise behind it. Well, there is my Freelancer, so I don't think we're on the right side over here. So what's gone on is that over the time that the Cutlass was announced to where we are now, it's gone through a couple of updates, and they've been working on flight models and working on building the modular system and the component system into the new Cutlass, so it will be ready for the multiplayer aspect of the game that's going to be released in the baby PU, otherwise known as Star Citizen Alpha 2.0. And they found out that, well, the diversification of ships that's occurred from the beginning across the whole line. Wow, there's a lot of updates to this hangar. I know that the lighting in this hangar is kind of broken. They fixed it, and then they said that it didn't get fixed the way they wanted to, so they have to put out another fix, but that will be in 2.0. So let's get back to the premise of this conversation. So there's been a diversification of ships across the line. So you have a Hornet that's a heavy fighter, and it's really supposed to take out medium fighters and be that utility fighter that's kind of in a support role, but also able to be maneuverable enough to hold its own. Hornet, in my estimation, is one of the best fighters in the game, if not the best fighter at right now. Although you could take a Mustang and a Gladius and also do very well in those. I think the Hornet just is the best all-around fighter. And then you look at something like the Freelancer, which is supposed to be able to defend itself. It's maneuverable enough to do things, but it is going to not be able to hold its own very well against a bunch of fighters. I don't have a Cutlass here, so we're going to cut it here, and I'll come right back. There we go. A little bit of finagling the client, and I've got my Cutlass in here. So the Cutlass was supposed to be a very inexpensive ship. It's not inexpensive in the range of ships that you could purchase, but it's definitely less expensive than something like a Super Hornet. But it's really a utility ship in the fact that it's more like a Freelancer than it is like a Super Hornet. So the expectations, or the original description of the ship, was kind of overzealous. They were reaching on it, trying to say that this was going to be, well, as maneuverable as it was supposed to be. And then they came up with the design, and then they started to go to work on making it fly, and it kind of flies okay. And they've had different issues with the ship over time, like it slowing down the whole game every time one popped in because of the amount of information in the object file. Well, the Cutlass still remains one of my favorite ships, but way back in the Drake Interplanetary Company lore, they mentioned a ship called the Buccaneer. I've always thought the Buccaneer was going to be that ship that would be the escort for this. I kept asking Ben about it, and he kept on just saying, we may have a Buccaneer in the future, but not really. And instead, we're seeing the production of a ship that we may see in the near future, we may see next year, called the Dragonfly, which is kind of the space motorcycle. Well, 2.0 is coming along, and they're working on flight models. And they're they're finding it increasingly difficult to create a flight model based on the physics and based on the weight and placement of engines and all sorts of other components in this. They're finding it difficult to deliver on the original promise of this being a highly maneuverable fighter. Now, I wouldn't expect it. I didn't buy the Cutlass, and I do have a Cutlass Blue that I will unmelt at some point. I was destitute and needed to get myself a Carrack, and I burnt it to get it, but I'm going to get my Blue back. I do believe in the Cutlass as a ship that needs to be in my hangar, but I believe in it in the original idea I had. It was a utility ship. It was that ship that was needed for breaching the hull of a ship that you were disabling if you were a pirate, or breaching the hull of a ship if you're like this, an ambulance, and you need to get in and rescue crew, whatever it might be. And I don't see an issue, and I don't think there is an issue, because when Ben wrote in the forums what they were thinking about doing, which is bringing the Buccaneer into the game, would you be interested in trading your Buccaneer for one of these? Now, it seems like the poll that they're running is running, it's pretty much positive that the Buccaneer should come into the game. There's more people saying that they would either buy it or trade for it than there are that wouldn't, at least as of the last time I looked. So what are my feelings about this? I think that this shows the willingness for CIG to admit when they make mistakes and to come up with a working model of a solution that works for everybody. The people that want to keep the Cutlass, like myself, that knew from the start it was going to be that ship that was able to hold its own but not really be the super maneuverable ship that they promised, are probably going to keep their ship. I'm not going to get rid of my red in my group, and when Operation Pitchfork, there's your plug, guys, love Operation Pitchfork, comes around, I'm definitely going to be using this to go and pick up downed pilots. But what about the Buccaneer? I will definitely get one of those. I've been pushing for that since the beginning. I don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe I should go read the Cutlass information that came out over the weekend, but I've been working so hard and going to school, it's almost final time, that I haven't read it in depth. But I do understand where it's coming from. Oh my god, the lighting makes these things look so amazing. I can tell you, being around jet aircraft in the Navy, that's about as close to realism as you're going to get. I feel like I could reach out and touch it and almost feel the metal underneath my hands. Alright, so I am very excited that CIG is always willing to make mistakes, roll with the punches, and change things as we go on. This doesn't mean there's a setback. It doesn't mean that the game's not coming out on time. What it means is that they're willing to change up some of the promises to make the game better in the end. I'm a firm believer that in diversity of ships, it'll keep the game exciting. Having that one ship that does everything? Why have a bunch of different ships? When you look out on the road today, you see tons of different cars from manufacturers like Toyota and Ford and Chevy and Honda and Kia and Hyundai and Mercedes and Lexus and Chevy, and you get the idea. There are so many cars out there and such a diversity that when you look on the road, oh yeah, you could play the punch buggy game and you could look for how many Mini Coopers you see. But in the grand scheme of things, there's a huge diversity in both the cars on the road, the planes in the sky, the ships on the sea, the trains on our rail. Well, maybe not the trains, but there's a huge diversity. And I like there being that diversity in the game. As far as the Cutlass goes, we know it's been broken for a while, and we know that they've been working on it. And 2.0 offers us the best hope that it's going to be up to our standard, although some of you might have to lower your standard. I think that blue button is supposed to be lit. I don't mean that it's not going to be good. You just can't expect this to be a Super Hornet. That's not what it was intended to be. Now, for the Buccaneer, I do expect that to be a Gladius. The Gladius is one of my favorite ships, and the Gladius is something that I will be doing a video like this on, but I will be doing a full review of the Gladius and why it's one of the best ships in the game. Yeah, I just said that the Hornet was the best ship, all-round fighter, right? Well, I'm going to contradict myself because I like to do that and talk about the Gladius in the next episode of my ship updates. I really miss Lisa Ohanian doing the ship shape, and I'm going to try to put together some information talking to some of the devs. I'm getting with Ben and seeing if he'll give me access, which he said he will, on as many of the people as I can get. I wonder if this means we could actually highlight our ship and move it from place to place. That looks good. But giving me access to some of the devs, I already have access to Darian Vorlik, who is an amazing person. So I want to do something like ship shape because I think that with my aeronautics background and now my communication background, I can put together a nice little expose of ships over the next 6 or 8 months and help those people coming into the game to know the difference between a Gladius, a Vanguard, a Super Hornet, a Hornet, a 325A, you know, all the fighters, and then go to the heavy fighters and bombers and stuff and do that. Alright folks, I know it's a short one. I just wanted to go through a couple of things here. Still one of my favorite ships in the game is right there, and I'm waiting for the remodel of it. But today, it was about the Cutlass, and my thoughts on the Cutlass being reworked and possibly replaced in some aspects of its design specs by its older brother or sister, the Buccaneer. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I will talk to you soon.